from the list, who's the player that you say, okay, what's the most fair offer to make to move up? Which edge rusher? Because I think they do it for an edge or an offensive lineman. I really have been intrigued by Gray Zabel, Josh Connerly. I think can do a lot of different things. You realize that the Ohio State offensive lineman as well can do a lot of different things. So you recognize Donovan Jackson is a player as well, but I'm not sure the lineman would be worth moving up for. You know what I mean? From the players that they met with formally, the edge rushers, who would you make the deal for and say, all right? Because I feel like, in those that are talking about Shamar Stewart and Mike Green, I see talent there, but I'm not so sure that the impact is there, the value is there to move up to get them. I do feel like there are some top end edge rushers out there that, you know about, but, potentially are dealing with some things. Do you take a swing on a higher level edge rusher, or do you say to yourself, okay, stay at 28 and see how the board plays out? Is there an edge rusher that you say that they met with? Hey, go get him.
I mean, if everything checks out with Mike Green, then that would be a guy that you would want to go up for. But I also think if that's the case, Mike Green might not make it out of the top 10 based solely on the fact that the position is so valued. And I mean, the production he had at Marshall was next level. So I think that if everything checks out, that would be a guy you would have to move up quite a bit to go get. But I think that based on the depth of this edge rusher class, I think there's going to be a good player, multiple good players still available at 28. And I think there's going to be a lot of good players still available at 60. And then I think if you move into day three, you're talking about good value all throughout the board. And there's a lot of options to choose from. So if I'm the Lions and you want a good edge rusher, I don't think there's that need to go up and say, hey, here's this can't miss guy. We have to have him because there's so many good options. And there's guys that you can find value in, a guy like David Walker from Central Arkansas, who could be on the board in day three. And he's a super talented player who had a ton of production, albeit at the FCS level, but this is a guy who can really play. And I think that the same can be said for a lot of these different options. A guy like Jack Sawyer, a guy like JT Tuimoloau, who was at one point last year picked to go to the Lions in the first round in mock drafts late in the regular season in 2023. So there's a ton of talent to go around here. And I think that when you look at what it would take to get into that top 10, top 15 for one of the guys at the very top of the board, I don't know necessarily that the cost would be worth it when there's going to be good players waiting for you. At the very least 28, but probably 60 and into that, their comp pick in the third round and things of that nature. So there's so many options, John, that I don't think that there's necessarily a huge need for them. I mean, edge rushers at the top of their priority list, but I don't think there's a need to, hey, we got to move up 20 spots to get this guy.
Yeah, agree. And I do think that, the Lions have shown they're willing to be aggressive, but with the level of depth along the, defensive front, defensive tackles, edge rushers, you could even wait till day two in order to
Yeah.
get one where you can focus on the offensive line. I think that the board is going to be able to fall to them where they have, I think, potentially evaluating two positions that could be fine in looking at, Josh Connolly from Oregon. You look at Donovan Jackson, Gray Zabel. There's a lot of good names on the offensive front there that you could get and really plug and play. So I do think that staying at 28 might not be so bad for the Detroit Lions.